Hartley 268810. If you ever let somebody down, somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, because I did. I was 19 and I'd just done 3 years in college and decided that I needed a little bit of space, a little bit of a break to think what my next step was going to be. And that's when I first realised what was happening to me. And I mean, if you ever wanted something so badly to not be true that you can actually convince yourself that it's not happening, because I did that. And I mean, I kind of brainwashed myself because I genuinely thought that it wasn't happening. It was like a rerun of somebody else's life that I was watching on TV. It wasn't my life. And I just pretended like it wasn't happening for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was still going out drinking, smoking, living the life of a normal 19-year-old. But somewhere deep down inside of me, I guess you could call my subconscious, knew that something was happening. And I knew that eventually I was going to have to do something about that to get proof, so I knew what the situation was. And I mean, a couple of weeks later, I finally managed to gain the courage to do something about that. And I was sat there with my 3rd positive pregnancy test in my hand, and I was still able to pretend that it wasn't happening. Just convince myself that it wasn't happening, and in my own head there was nothing. I mean, all I can remember doing was crying, and I couldn't eat. But I still thought that it wasn't happening. So weeks went by again, and time was just going so fast. And I knew then that I had to do something about it. So I went to the doctors and they booked me a scan. I had to wait a couple of weeks. And then finally my appointment was here. And I was sat in the waiting room, and there was like these 2 people sat opposite me, a couple. And I mean, you could see the excitement on their faces. Their faces were just beaming with excitement. They were so happy just to bring a new life into the world. And there was these 2 kids just here, just playing, and everybody was happy. And I can just remember sitting there just feeling completely alone, because I was too scared to tell anybody, because I didn't want them judging me, I guess. And anyway, after a while, they called me into the room where I had to lie down on this bed, and the doctor was using the ultrasound to scan my belly. And I can remember lying there the whole time, trying to think of anything else other than the fact of where I was. And I mean, I can just remember just thinking of, I don't know, a night out, or my friends, or basically how perfect other people's lives were. And after a while, the doctor turned around and said, "Congratulations, Miss Hartley, you're 19 weeks pregnant." And in that instant, it was literally like my whole life had just been ripped away from me. Because I mean, up until now, I was just able to convince myself that it wasn't happening because it was just in my head. But when somebody actually says it out loud, it makes it real. And it was literally like my hopes, my dream, my life, everything was just gone. And all I could think was I just needed to get out of that room. But I was just in complete shock, and I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. And finally I managed to peel myself off of the bed, but before I could get to the dirt, I basically collapsed on the floor. And the doctor knew obviously there was nobody with me, so he picked me up and sort of gave me a hug, I guess you could say. And he told me that there were things that I could do about what was happening if I didn't want the baby. And I felt a little bit better, I guess, then, because it was the first time I actually started to think about that. And I mean, I was just like in a dream world the whole time I was going home, and I was just lightheaded, and I just couldn't think of anything else other than what I'd just found out. And I went home and I can remember crying in my bed, just crying into my pillow all night because of what was happening, and I had to cry quietly because obviously my dad didn't know. And then the next morning I woke up, I decided I had to tell somebody. I just needed somebody to talk to about it. So the first person I told was my sister, because she was more of a mother, I guess, to me anyway. And the word she says, you know, she grabbed my hand and she was like, it's your decision, it's your life, you know, do what you feel is best. I'll be there to support you 100%. And I felt a little bit better after that. But I was most scared of telling my dad. So I actually made my sister come with me. And I mean, the words that come out of his mouth were the same as my sister's, basically. You know, I'm here to support you. Do what you feel is right. But his eyes just didn't match the words that were coming out of his mouth. So he was saying, I support you, blah, blah, blah. And he just had this look of disgust on his face. And I don't think it was a look of disgust because I was pregnant. It was more a look of disgust because I told him what I was thinking of doing. And I mean, I just felt like absolute crap then, because, you know, my dad had never looked at me in that way, ever, before. So at the end of the day, I thought I'd feel better, and I actually felt worse than I had so far. And then I had a phone call. Have you ever been has anybody ever called you a murderer? My dad's girlfriend, and I mean, I was really close with her at the time, and her words to me were, if you do what you're thinking of doing, then they'll make you nothing more than a murderer. And I mean, this is somebody that I love, this is somebody that cares about me, so surely what she's saying is right. And then I just felt so guilty. I just felt like I was worth nothing, and what kind of a person am I to make, or to even think about making a decision like that? And I just didn't know what to do, and I just felt just stuck. I just didn't know what choice to make for the best. I mean, if I made the one choice, it would make me a murderer. And if I made the other choice, then how I felt, it would ruin my life. And I mean, what kind of a mother could I be to a child at the age of 19? I booked the abortion, and the night before I was thinking, you know, I just didn't know. I was stuck between the two decisions. I didn't know what to do. What choice would you have made?